Thank you, everyone. Welcome to the first NYC by Design Festival event. I'm Eileen Shaw. I'm Executive Director of NYC by Design. We are so thrilled to welcome Coca-Cola to our family. And NYC by Design really is a family. We were kickstarted by the city, and we became a not-for-profit in 2020. We hold a festival here in New York, the official citywide annual celebration of design and architecture for the past 13 years. We're governed by a board of directors. We are guided by a steering committee, and we unify all of the design disciplines in New York City, and we have the largest creative community in the world, by far. So it's a big festival, and having Coca-Cola start it and kick it off in 2025 is really exciting for us. So when I was approached by Coca-Cola, Chris and Rapha, of course I was very excited to hear what they had in mind. And we met many times, mostly on Zoom and then in person, and I had the pleasure of meeting Guy as well. And I'm just meeting Anna for the first time today. When we sat and we talked, what I was most interested in Coca-Cola and how it pertains to design is how does a brand, after over 100 years, keep its popularity on a global basis? And how is a logo recognized in so many languages worldwide? How do you achieve that? I think we all want to know that. Coca-Cola did that. But then I met these guys, and we talked a little bit about this campaign that you'll be hearing about and that we're surrounded by, and I know what happened. It's not just a campaign. It's so authentic. It really comes from their hearts and their beliefs and their expertise. And that is what's behind the success. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Lisa, and we'll learn more about it. But thank you so much for joining the festival, and we'll see you through the week.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Smith. I'm the Global ECD at JKR, and I am so excited to be here this morning to sort of take a look back on the retrospective and sort of learn the history behind what is an incredible body of work over spanning 10 years together. And whilst the word campaign came up, and Rapha and I talk a lot about it being platforms, and it's actually, I mean, we're on the way towards a third platform, but we're going to talk a lot about the different sort of eras in the body of work that you're going to see. So yeah, I'm very lucky to be joined, obviously, with Rapha Abreu, who is the VP and Global Creative Lead for the Coca-Cola Company, and then two incredible global, world-renowned photographers in Guy Aroch and husband and wife duo, Anna Palma. So I'm very lucky to have them both with me today. So, are we ready to get stuck in? I do have some prompts, but we'll let it flow.
We need to make it a conversation, right?
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
getting a bit nervous here with all this. Yeah, it's a talk. Pretend that we are, yeah.
But we are going to cast ourselves back a little bit. We're going to go back 10 years, because I think in order to sort of understand this body of work, it's always interesting to sort of know the context of how it all began, and how there was a campaign previously in market 10 years ago called Open Happiness for Coca-Cola, and then you were in the process of developing this new platform called Taste the Feeling. Can you tell us a little bit about the vision for this next platform and the idea and approach behind it?
Yeah. First, thank you, everyone, for being here. You're making us quite nervous, at least me. But we're excited, I mean, to talk a little bit more about what happened in these 10 years. Before Taste the Feeling, there was Open Happiness, which was a very successful brand platform that existed for many here, yeah, many years. Open Happiness, you see photography here, I think is great, the presentation. Was a highly stylized way of portraying Coca-Cola, right? So blue skies, smiles, and almost like this perfect Americana image. All that was created before social media existed, right? So social media, brands were not in social media back then. So when we, in Taste the Feeling 10 years ago, in 2015, Global Design was for the first time tasked to be the one developing photography for the brand. There are two main guiding principles that I think helped shape what you're seeing here in the space. So the first is the actual taste the feeling, right? The sentence, the tagline that we were bringing to the brand. And these two words, right, taste and feeling, really the idea of photography was to express those two words together. And taste comes implied that is about the experience of the product, right? So we wanted to really celebrate the product experience, the bottle, the liquid. And feeling is about the people, right? People, once they taste it, what do they feel? Where are they? Who are they with? So really this combination. So those were like defining the subjects that we were capturing in photography. And then the second principle that guided all is something that we say in design a lot, is this designing for Coke is a paradoxical pursuit in a way, because we need to balance the timeless with the timely, right? That's where why the brand exists for 129 years is because we were constantly timely throughout those years. So it's always balancing the iconic with the relevant, the legacy with now, right? So that's what we try to do. Part of my team's job is to really strike that balance. And then speaking of legacy, I think when we started to understand what do we do with Taste the Feeling, we went back to our archives. We have an amazing private archives in our headquarters, and we went there to see, photography-wise, what was the history, when Coke looked its best, right? So we looked from illustrations from the 50s to photography from the 80s. And one thing that was really, for us, was very important was to capture youth. We wanted to go back and showcase youth at its best. And then speaking of the now, right, so the relevant moment, we were looking into social media. What was happening there? I mean, brands were really starting to become showcased in social media, and that was important because somehow social media helped shape everything that we developed from then on. So we came with these two things in mind. We came with this concept for Taste the Feeling, which was contemporary nostalgia. That's what we called. And it was like this idea that, imagine that Norman Rockwell meets Instagram. Instagram was the social media in 2015. So thinking Rockwell as the attention to details, the construct of the images, the visual storytelling, combined with Instagram, which is more those curated, aspirational moments of real life. It's not real life as is, but it's like the best version of it. So highly aspirational and curated. So that's where we started, right? So we had this vision, but just with like words and guiding principles. But then the rest is here on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, you know how much I love the mix of like the heritage and the present. I've got to go in the Coca-Cola archives. It's such a special experience to be able to go there and see all the Rockwells and the Warhol and all of those pieces. I'm interested, obviously, Guy and Anna, where you start to come in. So the team at Coke have started to build a vision of what this is. How did you first hear?
I was working mostly with Maxi Anselmo at the time, who is an art director at Santo in Argentina. We were working on, we did Diesel together, we did Chorus, which is a beauty company. And I remember getting a call one time. I was in LA, on family vacation. I was like picking up coffee. He's like, Guy, what are you doing? What do you think about doing Coca-Cola? And I was like, okay. Yeah, like hell yeah. It's just one of those things, like as a photographer, like it's one of those like goals. And especially coming from like the fashion and style place, I just love, like, I just find this like happy place of, in this like bringing style to products in a way that I felt so excited about that. At that point we met Rapha and James and the crew, and we decided to just have like, we had like multiple conversations, really defining where they're coming from, how they see the brand, blah, blah, blah. We went to the archive a few times. That was, I'm with you. That was super special.
It was incredible.
And you know, my work at the time, it still is, has this like one foot in the past and one foot in the future. And so it was kind of perfect on that level too. So I was able to just like, you know, bring it all together with the team to just like, you know, whatever, mix it up. The brand is just like, it's so loved, right? And then even taking it to the bottle's just so iconic that one of the things I realized really early on, weirdly, is like you could just hold this bottle any which way and you still recognize it. And I remember saying, I remember even suggesting to you guys on like day one, why don't we just shoot like the bottom of it? You guys were not so down with that, but
No, we did. After 2 years, we probably did a couple of
after
those.
a couple of years, but I remember
That's not a lot.
a little too early, maybe day one, but
But I remember when this special phone call came to, you know, offer the project, Guy after that was just gone into Coca-Cola world. And I remember you saying like, if this is my last project ever, I'll die happy.
Oh,
that was
But,
super
you
sad.
know,
No.
obviously it was a beginning of
Yeah.
a very special,
Special.
what's
Yeah,
been
I mean-
now 10 years. So that
yeah.
was really cool.
You told me about the shoebox of your.
All right, so then one of the things I did at the time was like, you know, my parents, you know, I want to say I'm sure, but not so sure. Maybe it's just me. But we'd have like these 4x6 pictures in a shoebox. And that's where I would get a lot of inspiration for color. Because I was like, you know, before early 2000s, we were shooting film, right? And so once digital started coming in, and the beginning of digital was just so digital. You know, and then I started getting into like how, you know, how do I make this more like film, and like diving in deep into that world of color. And then naturally for inspiration, I would start like looking at old photos. So, you know, because in film before that, it was like making the image perfect. I mean, the 90s were all about perfection, right? And like high polish. And then the 2000s and like the early 2000s was all about, you know, not all about, but my idea was just like, let's break that. And, you know, I mean, it wasn't just me, but, you know, that was the movement. And one of the things to do that with was color. I mean, there's a lot of tools. It's like finger in front of the lens. It's like, you know, smudge the lens. Like, you know, just break things, but do it in an intentional way that feels kind of like real. And so, you know, I would get a lot of inspiration from that. It's like faded color or extra grain or the flash going off the wrong way or like piece of dust or finger. So I was doing a lot of that. And what I found most interesting about that was that it gave this weird authenticity to the moment, right? Because all of a sudden you're looking at a photo there's a clear mistake.
Yeah.
And that's this weird thing that, you know, you're just kind of going like, why didn't they retouch that out? Or combined with like, that was just such a real moment that.
But the
it
cool
just
part
like,
was that the creatives at Coke were willing to embrace this, which
Yes,
that was like
that was the coolest part.
the genius.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways, how did you know that both Guy and Anna were right? Because obviously they were going to, it sounds like going to take you on such a journey in terms of like imperfection, for example, which wouldn't have been something you would have normally looked for.
I think when we had this task of Taste the Feeling, I think for us was clear that we needed to move away from commercial lifestyle photographers, and because of this combination of product and people, we saw beauty and fashion as this kind of sweet spot, right? So there is portraying of people, but showcasing the product in the best way. So definitely like this pivot was intentional, important. And then when we saw the work from them, I mean, it's just like the images are so, it looks like you were inside a story, you're inside a film. It's so magnetic. You want to go inside the camera and be there. So it was just like really elevated. I think that elevation of photography to a status that is less about advertising and more like just high quality, spectacular photography, each one. We wanted to achieve that. So I remember when we met for the first time was in a hotel in LA by the pool.
Yes.
I remember that. What to me felt really right at the moment was what Anna is saying, that we were very open, but I also felt both of them very, very open to ideas, right?
Yeah.
So it was really like a beginning of a signal of a collaboration, right? So really creative collaboration, that we're going to bounce ideas, and there is no one is precious about those. We're just trying to aim for the best output.
That conversation was kind of everything now that I think about it, because I really realized that we were, you know, because especially as a photographer, like, you know, you arrive at this like corporate setting of like, all right, okay, which was like at the time was very much about like, shut the hell up and shoot this picture. Like, here's the illustration, get this done for us. You know, that was a mentality. But when we sat around and we really saw eye to eye, first of all, but then also just personality-wise, we were really able to. I realized I was with my equals somehow. You know what I mean? And that was like, as someone who was being hired, was not normal. And I clocked that, and that's what I'm talking about, being mature enough to realize that at that point. And really just at that point, just really make almost like a rule. This was, I don't know that I said it, but it was this unsaid rule of like, throw anything at me, it's all good. And then I could just tell you, your idea is not great or great, and do it. And no
Which
one
he did, didn't he?
Or tried it for 5 minutes and then gave up and said, no, it's
or
really
try-
terrible. Let's move on.
It's like no egos involved. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And I
which-
think that's a weird thing. It's
Yeah.
like a weird little big thing that happens on set a lot, where it's just like this ego is like, oh, did he not like that?
Well, I think
None of
especially
that.
when you
You
see
know?
that the way sort of open happiness was executed, which was right for the time, it was almost sketched and it was almost like laid out before it was shot, to your point. Please, can you shoot this composition? This is
Oh,
what
yeah,
we
big
want.
time.
So it was just entirely, completely different.
new way of
and
working,
then
really, it
you
was.
both coming from sort of fashion and beauty as well, and bringing, I think, to the product, a sort of sparkle that we've never really seen around this iconic product, which is called Contour, which I guess so you decided to name the exhibition Contour.
Right, yeah. The exhibition is named Contour because that's the name of the bottle, because of the curves. A bottle that is celebrating 110th anniversary this year, so 110 years old bottle. And really, like, what is amazing when you see around the bottle present is this, you see people from different parts of the world, from different ethnicities, different ages, and the bottle is probably the thing that drags you in and makes you identify with that image, even if it's, they don't look like you, or they're not in a setting that you would be at, but the object in their hands is the one that connects everyone around. But back to, I just want to compliment a little bit about this first meeting that to me was also very important, is the discussions about details.
Yeah.
Right? So it's all, I mean, Coca-Cola Red, we talked about red so many times. Is that what is the role of red? How red will appear? You know, is the bottle with red labels or without red labels? If not, how do we bring red? So this obsession about the details, I think, discussed were super important. Even when we went to set, I think the entire crew, from hair, makeup, nails, wardrobe, set design, everything there was discussed and extremely intentional. When these guys open up the camera and start clicking, then we let it go. You know, like, so then it's like the moment that you we let it happen because all the details are right? So the hair
But
is right.
it's not
the
only
bottle
the
is right.
details, it's also the conversations of where you're coming from. So then decisions are made, like, we don't have to sit there and discuss it.
Exactly.
It's like we all know where we're going.
going.
So when we're in it, it's like less talking, more doing. You know?
Yeah. There's special collaboration between you both, I think, and both having come from different worlds of fashion and beauty. And I know, Anna, you were shooting kids sometimes and products sometimes, but you're shooting different kind of cinematic images. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship and the level of trust you shared with me that I just
wanna
thought
know
was
that
so
too.
beautiful?
I don't know exactly that story. So let's do it.
We met in the early 90s. We were in art school together, so we have quite the history. Early on, Guy was super successful in shooting editorials and celebrities for various platforms. I was kind of had a little slower start, but I got there. Also, we had 2 separate careers, and then actually not until right before this first Coke campaign came up had we worked together once. We realized we were always in different places. We weren't, we were focused on staying home. Well, like one of us staying, sort of home with, our 3 beautiful daughters who are right here. So it wasn't, so at the time of, in 2015, our youngest daughter is 10 years old.
Yeah.
So it was sort of like a perfect time to, be a little freer. And I feel like this project came up for both of us in a really good time. First of all, I think we both had a lot of experience in working, on different commercial campaigns, so we knew how to tell a story of a product. I feel like we were both super excited to take on this project. I feel like Guy made me more excited with his excitement because for him, I feel like it was so just the ultimate project, What's better than getting to make Coca-Cola bottles sexy? I mean, that's or like a sexy photograph of, involving a Coke bottle. So in the beginning, I, on this first day of our first project for Coke, I was more doing what we call product love stories. So I was taking 3 Coke bottles and trying to tell a beautiful story around that as a still life. Whereas Guy was more focused on like the bigger cinematic moments. And then I guess
That
after
lasted for like an hour.
yeah, so after that we realized we had like 30 beautiful models that we had selected in front of us, and we were like, okay, let's go. There's so much here that we were so excited to, we first of all had an amazing team of production and models and styling, from props to.
I mean, in a way, it's kind of a little bit of what we were doing always, editorially. That's what we do. We tell, visual stories. So in a way, this is literally, it's just like the same thing. It's just like, hold this, a little bit extra direction, But that's, that's what we were doing. So you couldn't even help yourself with doing that. So
Yeah,
that
exactly,
was that.
yeah.
And so there was no stopping you there. So, and then the guys were just like, so what's up? And, again, going back to the trust, at the end of the day, it's like, I know when I look back at it, it's kind of pretty crazy, but we had that trust pretty much from day one, And that
I think
right there
everyone
is like
had faith in each other as a team. We
But
knew
I
that
would say
we were
one thing.
capable.
What I loved was like to keep Anna. I mean, we keep looking Anna's pictures, and then Guy comes in and says, "Oh shit, okay, this is."
Yeah.
And keep
So
him
they're
on his
each
toes.
upping each other's game.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
really,
Yeah.
really amazing to see the collaboration, and it's one beauty on top of each other, and it's. I just think, just the 2 of you could do that together.
I mean, you were very honest with me when you talked about also like you might have a day where one's maybe struggling with a thing, but the other one then lifts that up, and you can like ebb and flow. And
Yeah, like when you have like an off day or something.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
I'll
Or
be
you
like-
have to tell, a story of like 10 people around a table. Like, how do you make that super exciting? And, sometimes you struggle. So we have each other to
Yeah,
kind of,
to kind
Yeah.
But what happened when really both of you then started shooting everything? You ended up with like a prolific quantity of
Yeah,
shots. So
that was its own problem.
So I'm seeing Rapha's eyes sort of roll a little bit there. Because
Remember
I think
that-
you
that-
went in
that-
with 16 key visuals.
The,
didn't you?
the
That was
last days of shoot is always, okay, how are we going to edit this?
Yeah.
So it's always the conversation. How do you want to do it?
The first campaign was supposed to be, we were supposed to produce 16 images.
Yeah, you did 400
And
or
yeah, we
something.
did. Yeah, it was like about 400. This was actually another collaboration in a way, right? So normally, with especially in advertising at that point, you would hand over whatever, sometimes the whole shoot, sometimes your favorite whatever, 10, 20, and then sayonara, you know. But with us, it was like this back and forth, and Maxi was involved, and James, and it was
Yeah.
like this. We started a Dropbox folder, and we each had
Each
a
one of
color.
us had a color. We had, okay, pick a color, go there and tag your color, make the selections by,
Yeah.
everyone was selecting. But it was a job on itself. It's like
Yeah.
after set is a kind of another
Yeah.
big job to do it, which is select, because it was a lot.
But I mean, obviously, there were so many needs for all of these shots anyway, when you start to think of like the sheer sort of global scale of everything we're doing. But then you also shoot things in local markets. So
Yeah.
how did shooting from the first shoot, essentially, for Taste the Feeling, how did that take hold in terms of like, how did it roll across different markets?
Yeah.
How did they receive it well? Did they embrace it? Did they want to get going?
It was a big moment. I liked this quote from Milton Glaser that says that there are 3 responses to design: yes, no, and wow. And wow is the one to aim for. And we hit it wow, you know. So it and the wow, when you share that, this first batch of work, when you do it, I mean, people, it feels immediate. People understand it. They love it immediately. You don't need to explain. It's kind of unanimous work, you know. And of course, everyone wants a part of it, right? So we, as a global brand, we wanted to do also tailor the work to more local nuances, right? So the casting from a specific market, if there is food, the food from a specific market, location, and so on. But most importantly, I think this first batch of work created a precedent of excellence that also implied a different process internally at Coca-Cola, right? You guys were saying before that, yes, in other brands and even other processes, you have like an agency sketching an image, and then you go there and just capture that sketch. Internally at Coke, we didn't have a sketch, right? So we never sketched any of these situations. We're much more like a high-level description of what we want to capture. Who are these people? Where are they at? What are they doing? That's the general thing. So even for production to be able to find a location, find the people.
Yeah.
We got budgets approved to do production without actually knowing what exactly we're going to get out of at the end. It's a total level of trust in the work. Because the body of work was so amazing, people said, you're going to get that for me, so just go. Here's the money. Go do it. And they knew that we're going to get something.
I mean, that's 200 markets. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, one of the most important things about this is, I think in it of itself, it's fun to have it, but that releases and frees up the talent and us to get real moments.
Yeah.
Because we're not sitting there going like, okay, the bottle's in the wrong spot like this. Like it's like we're just going.
And
You can see the
the fewer
spontaneity,
times that we
yeah.
try to do that, it loses everything.
Yeah.
Because then
So
it's everyone
fast.
contrived. You're trying to mimic reality.
Yeah, which is why advertising back
It doesn't work.
before this time was quite stiff.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of it. So I think as far as just a bigger, that was a big flip.
I remember seeing this on the back of a Delta flight for the first time and being like, oh my goodness, I've never seen a photo, and then getting off the plane and then seeing it on a billboard and then seeing it on a magazine and then seeing it on the back of a truck. And it was just like, that felt so connected as a body of work. Like the color, the warmth, the styling, all of those things. It was like, we talk a lot about, Rapha and I, from a design perspective, a lot about distinctive assets, and creating the distinctive photo library is really hard. Like, but I've just never really seen it before. And I think it was just really unusual and really special. And I wondered a bit more, like you talked about the color that you were inspired for by, like, from obviously the mum's shoebox and things like that, but just your general kind of color, tonality, light. I mean, this makes it ties everything together.
Yeah, in general, even like going into all the conversations we had beforehand of just more about where the brand's coming from, and just defining it in a few first, like high level words like youth, fun, hope, positivity, energy, all that stuff. Again, really,
And the
like,
role of Coke in those moments too.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's really like all one big family, and there's no one answer for that. And
Yeah.
so if you're like in a situation and you have that in the back of your head and you're going for something, it's just like a lot of times the adjustments is so small that if you got that in the back of your mind, that's what you're going to produce. So, and again, you're really creating that in like 100 different ways at any given moment. So I think that's a big one. Now, I know
Yeah.
you asked me about color.
No, well, I mean, it's okay, because I know you talked about that, but I think it was just more that you were pioneering something very unique with the mix
Yeah.
of the sort of digital
I'll say
and
one thing.
analog.
Instagram copied Guy Aroch. That's all
Yeah,
I'm
it
kinda
almost
saying.
created the filters
You know?
from
Yeah.
That's
Guy's work.
His work. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in a funny way, that just kind of took it, gave it a little boost, and then killed it later, which is what happens. But it's all good. I mean, it's like, but it was definitely a thing I was doing at the time, and it was cool to be able to have it in this campaign, because this almost kind of defined that. We were starting to mess around with color when digital first
Yeah.
came. I remember having to talk my clients into using digital photography.
Yeah.
And then at some point, like, I remember it was a thing, because we
People
started
were
working
scared
with,
they were going to lose film. weren't they?
yeah,
I
No,
remember,
it was a thing,
that.
And it was, we started in 2000, and for the first 5 years, it was like just this clunky digital thing that's like, and then I remember discovering the levels and going like, ooh, what if I do that a little bit? And I would just put a little bit, and that was it. But anyway, the point is that at some point I was like, let's go.
It was a labor
And
of
then-
love,
yeah.
I have to say, just getting
Yeah.
to the right.
And then at that
Right.
point, and that's when I started getting into like the inspiration of it and the little mistakes, and like, but the
Yeah.
color in and of itself is like, it's not so much a color for sake of color. It's more a color with an intention that is, setting and helping the mood, just like everything else
Yeah.
that is part of the images. So whether it's casting, hair, makeup, styling, obviously composition, blah, blah, but color is just like another one, as well as retouching. And, in many cases, the lack of retouching is a thing. So at the time, again, coming from like out of the 90s and the early 2000s, where everything was like this perfection, it really made a big, like, you saw it, it stood out.
You still have all the colors saved on your computer
Yeah,
and all the
that's true. I
spectrums and
still
things.
have Coke 1, Coke 2, Coke 3.
Coke Final, Coke Final 2, Coke Final 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coke 8 was a big one.
Oh yeah, Coke 8 was
Coke
good.
8
But
was
I
a big
don't
one.
think I was just alone in feeling just how special. Did you realize, like,
I feel like
after the first shoot, you
yeah,
want to-
absolutely. I mean, we did so much homework as well. So, just from casting, for example, like we had been working with, we had our favorite models that we, for Taste of Feeling, I feel like we were just, put our minds together and like who would be amazing for this project. And regardless of budget, let's just think of our favorites, and we ended up in the first, Taste of Feeling shoot, we ended up with incredible models. And I feel like also we had so much inspiration. So I feel like we did so much homework that a half hour into shooting the first day, we're like, okay, this is very special, you know? And it is rare to be shooting for the same brand for 10 years. It's very rare. But, we're still doing it, and it's always super special and ambitious. And the casting is a big part for us. We, with Taste of Feeling, we met everybody. We had conversations. We made sure that they could drink. You know, not everyone wants to drink a Coke, you know, and
or can drink from the bottle.
yeah,
like,
and we wanted to make sure their hands looked okay. You know, like there was
all
so
the details.
also as far as like the imagery, like most of the work that we have done for Coke is not very retouched at all. Just the bottle is really the what gets retouched. Everything else is pretty much
Mostly
left.
for-
Yeah.
Going back to trust and being able to know that we're going to tweak and make that look a little bit better later, again, frees us to be in the moment.
There's one story about bottle retouching, which is also interesting from our dig into the archives, that we learned that when we used to paint advertising in the past, we commissioned 2 different painters. There was one painter that did the people, right? So wider brushes, people expression, emotion. And then there was like a placeholder for the bottle. And then it comes another painter with a different brush, a much thinner
really?
one,
Wow.
that does the bottle. So it was a similar process too, because we were capturing the moment and it's
That's
all
cool.
about the people. And then in post, we were really dialing up, making sure that the liquid was right, the fizz was right, the color of the glass, everything. But similar to what we've have done historically with painting, not
Yeah.
photography.
I do want to ask you just about one of the most sort of famous images, well, is the most liked image ever on,
Not anymore.
Not
Well-
anymore.
At the time.
but it was, well,
The Kardashians didn't exist back then.
Yeah.
So it was like now they're.
That's true. Did they exist?
but yeah, I mean, obviously, like,
They were born.
could you tell us a little bit about the Selena Gomez kind of shoot? Because obviously
you talking to me?
Yes, Guy, I'm talking to you.
Yeah,
Because you knew
so that
her.
was-
You had a bit. You
Yeah,
met her
so
before.
I worked with Selena like 2 or 3 times before that, and I remember when someone called me to ask if it's if I would do it. I was like, hell yeah, but she's just such a sweetheart, and there's always with this kind of collaboration between celebrities and and corporations. There's always this weird it's like who needs who more kind of vibes, and that just is a thing. And a lot of times, because I do this a lot, I'll walk into a room and it's like if someone's there because they're doing us a favor, it's never fun. It's just never fun for anyone. And in this case, I was able to just suss it really quick, and the ability, just knowing her from before, we didn't even have this concept down at all. We rolled in, and I remember going let me just shoot her while she's getting ready. Just put her Coke down while she's getting her hair and makeup done. I couldn't do that if I didn't know her. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so we just, we were just rolling then, and we just I took her outside the studio. That picture, we did that picture outside. It was at Milk Studios, by the cafe, against the little wall right there. So I just think that kind of comfortability, and you could see that. And then styling, obviously, hair, makeup was a thing, as it always is.
And it got recognized in Vogue, wrote an
and
article
so-
just specifically about the details of all of
It was because at the end of the day, I think that it felt more of a picture of Selena more so than an ad for Coke. And I feel like that's, again, this is a running theme that's throughout the show and throughout the campaigns and platforms that how we try to work. It's like the bottle is very much there. It's the center of the story, center of the picture, and many, whether it's physically the center or if it's just kind of in there with the story. But at the end of the day, it's kind of coming at you from here, or from here, and I feel like that's what we try to do, and that's why we like it so much. I love it, and this is what we do anyways, so we love doing it.
And it's a beautiful shot, and I love that shot so much. But I think, Anna, you did touch on briefly, and I think even when I was thinking about Selena and casting, you talked to us a lot about the Taste the Feeling casting. But as we skip to kind of after the first platform, Taste the Feeling, you move, things are changing. We're living in pandemic times. You're starting to think about what the next platform is. And the casting approach was very different for Real Magic. So Real Magic is the second campaign in the series that Guy and Anna... Platform, sorry. I've been so good.
See? Already learned.
We taught
Yes,
everyone.
I think between Taste the Feeling and Real Magic, there was this kind of not small episode in the world, a global pandemic. And with that, I mean, many changes, social movements happened, like Me Too, Black Lives Matter. There was a lot of changes throughout that time, and that had a direct impact in how brands were being showcased in advertising, in imagery, in general. So Coca-Cola historically always brought people together. It's a global brand, exists in every corner of the world. Peoples from different socioeconomics and different body types and sizes, and you know, that it's all Coca-Cola is for everyone. We wanted to portray that, right? So we want a Real Magic to do like a shift on being more diverse, more inclusive in the way we showcase our consumers through photography. And it was like more about bringing more the personality of these people, right?
Yeah.
So instead of like just gorgeous models, they were people that they have talents and they do things and they have personality. They have and we allowed them to bring that to the set, which was also a big change again, right?
Yeah, we kind of were, led by you, just wanting to kind of figure out the language for, to express this like new world we were living in. We did just as much work on the casting, but it was basically casting like a more real maybe or diverse group of people. But there was a huge difference also in now we wanted actually the people to dress themselves,
Right.
do their own hair and makeup, and
Come as they are.
Come as they are,
Yeah.
and be and the beauty of just being who you are. How does the youth express themselves now? And we obviously had our 3 daughters at home, so we could ask them questions and kind
Is
of
this
think
cool?
about what they had just come out of.
Yeah. So they were like your
Consultants.
focus group.
Consultants.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
focus
cool.
group.
Focus
Yeah.
group.
I think the interesting, when we talked about Instagram as the big reference, let's say, for Taste the Feeling, I think on Real Magic, TikTok was the biggest social media at that time, right? And all these, the rise of influencers and creators, right? So we wanted to tap into that and showcase Coca-Cola in that type of content. And of course, coming out of the pandemic, this was 21 when we launched Real Magic. We are breaking social distancing, right? So the whole idea of Real Magic was bringing people together again, right? We even created one branding device, which is a Coca-Cola logo that wraps around people. So hugging, we call it the hug logo. And it was really refreshing in the beginning when we launched this to see people actually hugging themselves with the big Coca-Cola script coming out of a social distancing in a lockdown, right? So that was kind of Coca-Cola. Yes, you can hug everyone again, right? So was this idea of bringing people together?
So,
Main
but
idea.
photography-wise, I want to add to that.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Important.
It's quite a different
was-
style.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. So, I mean, I would say that, like, Taste the Feeling was just like really pretty, really just like take everything up, a notch or 2 or 3 or 5, and then, and then just kind of let it be. Where here, and then the Cokes were just really big and stuff. And here in Real Magic, now we had a big logo.
Yeah.
It took up, I want to say whatever, right? Like a good third of the image.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
graphic design team went there.
they just took it there. It was about them. So in a way, we had to actually step back.
Yeah.
And that was kind of fun. At the time, it was a little bit, I'll be honest, a little, kind of like, like.
You were so used to
like-
being hyper
yeah,
stylized.
Out of the image.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but he came at me with a bunch of different, like, requests and or, realities of so it was like, okay, first of all, we need to pull back. because the logo's got to, we got to see more people to be able to hug them. And then second of all, the bottle. We're going to make it this big.
Yeah.
It's not important anymore. We're going to put it on the side. In fact, sometimes there's no bottle in the picture. Okay. And then your color, bye-bye. Later with the color. I would try to sneak it in, and he would catch it all the time.
What did you done? What have you done?
I mean, one of the things, like photographically speaking, and I realized it at the time, but I'm realizing even more now, is like up until, let's call it, whatever year, let's just say 2020, and I'm going to just throw out a number. It could have been a little before. Like the idea of a snapshot is really like I think of it as like a flash on camera, like could be raw kind of image, but it's like I'm thinking of it like you're at a restaurant, you got a flash on camera. It's like that's like the idea of a basic snapshot, AKA something that's not set up, not produced. It's like a moment, and then shifting into 2020 and above, again, give or take. The idea, like an iPhone picture is the basic snapshot, right? So now visually, a person looking at what's real or what's a snapshot as, again, what feels authentic is in fact an iPhone photo, right? So that's the new base. And that's a fairly new thing. So that's, in fact, what we were doing
is
here.
wise, right? So
yeah,
we
like
changed.
lens. Because I think iPhone had just introduced a wide lens at that point.
Right.
So it's like these little devices that are.
Did you shoot
not
on all
very
different
little.
devices? Yeah.
In fact, we gave the talent, like cameras. We gave the art director's cameras.
Yeah.
Everyone was
Our
shooting.
So really,
it.
Josh, some of these are yours.
You know what's even funny? It's when we were trying to do this like backstage wall, we realized we didn't have any backstage BTS
Because
photos.
it was all.
I had to go into the actual shoot to get that stuff because we didn't have the BTS because it was part of the shoot, So that's how much it was just like.
What's the actual fundamental difference between Taste the Feeling and Real Magic in terms of like the color, the lighting, all of those things? It's just like completely stripping it away, or like it was just foam versus.
Was trying to look as raw and
Yeah.
diverse as possible. So something that we introduced with Real Magic was different. The coloring was different. We had some that were like more saturated, some that were black and white. So trying to give this kind of a diversity in all senses, I think also from final photography.
The directive was that it was almost should feel like user-generated content. So in other words, it's coming from a million different cameras, a million different,
And I thought that was
ideas.
really smart.
Yeah, I think
It was
just
really
on
successful.
on the product itself, I think what you touched, there was a big difference. In Taste the Feeling, because of taste, we wanted to showcase that experience. So we used to say that the bottle at the center of the frame is okay, but the bottle as the central to the story that we are capturing is even better, right? So how can we tell stories of the girl there, like cooling herself with the bottle of Coke? If you remove that bottle, there's no story, there's no photo, right? So it was very much about having people fall in love about the bottle. I mean, Open Happiness, if you go back in before Taste the Feeling, was very rare to see drinking shots. I mean, people actually with lips on the bottle drinking. We kind of took it for granted that, yes, we are a beverage, but we're now with Taste the Feeling, we're trying to bring back this, showcase the desirability behind the product. And I think the casting, everything, the context around the bottle was also to drive that desire, right? So I want to drink that Coke. I want to be their friends. I want to be them. I want to be there in that situation, right? In Real Magic was much more about authenticity of content. As there's no Guyana photographers anymore, it's like them creating the images, which is interesting because now maybe we're going to talk later about evolving how we are looking today, what's happening today with brands. Many, many brands jumped into that space of user-generated look. So we're going to probably swing back to something that is more into...
We'll touch on that in a minute.
Okay.
But I was just thinking, even though what is interesting is as we've evolved through 2 and about to think about what the third platform is. What hasn't changed? What's always stays the same because it's Coke? Is there things?
I think, I mean, the stories behind the product, I think the values of the brand haven't changed, right? So it's all about optimism, positivity, uplifting, like, is the bright side of the world. That's what
Yeah.
Coca-Cola sells, right? And of course, the bottle plays a big role there. So bottles, I mean, glass bottle, the iconic representation of the product is our main hero pack.
Yeah.
I would say that since Taste the Feeling, I think we in global design, that process that I mentioned to you, this trust of, hey, go to shoot, but I don't know exactly what you're going to capture. Go for it. Here's like dollars and go. That hasn't changed either. I mean, Real Magic, we are doing similar things. We even implemented that to other brands too, which is beyond Coca-Cola, to Sprite, Fanta, and so on. So that was a pretty important moment. That, well, when we did Taste the Feeling for the first time, that changed everything for us in Coca-Cola Global Design, moving forward with photography. So.
Yeah, I love that photography is such an important part of the brand identity. Is essentially equal to logos and things and colors and things.
No, and we try to keep the show. I feel like the show is a representation of it in a way where it's just a little bit of a. We say on set a lot of times controlled chaos.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of that, where it's like you don't really know what's going to happen.
Controlled,
but we're
sometimes
kinda
chaos, pure chaos.
Pure chaos, but like
So
it's
as we
like,
get,
you know,
as we're getting closer to wrapping up, I'd love to know, like, what's something that stood out? What was the most memorable?
I mean, I think just walking around. Yeah, I mean, we've been
They all have
we've been
stories.
working on this for months now, just narrowing. We were first on like 3,000 images, and we had to cut down to 150. So that wasn't an easy one, but it was a fun journey through all these trips that we've been on, and creating snow and 80 degrees of summer, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, there it is. A Russia shoot in New York.
Or summer. Right beach.
Yeah.
We always try to like face in the sun color.
But we went to Hawaii as well. There was the summer shoot, but
It was the summer wow campaign.
the summer moment, and it was just rainy. So we flew all the way there, and there was no summer. It's like cloudy and.
Not only that, like all the water, because there was like
I know, I found the picture of that. It was like
all the water was brown.
Yeah.
No, look.
And we asked the guy to pray with us, but it didn't work.
We had a shaman come, and we all like stood around a table holding hands. It was really
Not a legit one.
yeah, it didn't actually work. But I still love the imagery from that campaign.
The bear was. We were on set. We were all professionals capturing the image of the bear, and then he came with the wrangler, right? So it was the wrangler, the bear, and they didn't.
But he's an
leave
actor in a
character.
costume. Why does he need a
exactly.
wrangler?
No, but the wrangler was. Bear, please look here. Bear, are you okay, Bear? And we said, are you? What is this? I mean, we know there's a man in the suit there. Why are you talking this way? But it was incredible to see. I was impressed by not leaving character at all. The whole day. And there was a voice too. Bear, come on, Bear. Come on. We have a time to shoot this thing. Come on. And the Santa one to me was very special. I remember in New York when we were capturing Santa for the first time, and how quiet the set became. I don't know if you guys remember that. We were like in New York. It was the fireplace shot, not outside, but was inside the house. And then the set went quiet, and the actor was like, ho, ho, ho. And that moment that you feel that you're recreating a legendary story.
Yeah.
It's like that, touching that myth that we helped to create was very special. I mean, the chaos suddenly stopped, and we were like, just like very quiet, shooting that. So just the click and the ho, ho, ho all the time.
I think I also found hundreds of images of people piling into this little car.
He's there, he's there.
Yeah. Guy, you told me about this shot, which I loved. When day one, shot one, kind of.
Oh yeah, that was cool. this guy, Bobby, who I work with. I actually worked with both of these guys a few weeks earlier, and we were doing a story for, I don't remember what the magazine was, and we were doing a story where they ended up kissing. They both have significant others, but they, you know, a lot of times in fashion, it's like this fake kiss. It's like this thing, almost kiss kind of thing, which is so annoying. But like I don't like
They
fake
wanted
stuff.
to kiss?
It's annoying. I don't. It wasn't even that. They were just going for the real. And the point is that I had Bobby. I booked him for like day 3 or something, and I was like, please come, Carolina's gonna be there day 1. Please come. And sure enough, he showed up like at the end of the shoot. This is day 1, and they just snapped right into
You
it.
broke my myth of thinking this was really in the
This was
rain, but it was in the hose.
No, it's just Isaiah standing there with a hose. You know? It's like there's like
So
zero.
romantic.
There's,
I was
there's zero
Very
retouching.
powerful hose.
It's like,
Rafa, maybe I'd love just to end on a little bit of what's next and where you see the photographic style kind of evolving and the collaboration with Guy and Anna.
I think the privilege is very, as you said, it's very rare that you're able to do like 10 years working as a creative team together, 10 years. And the beauty is that we can all look back to our own body of work and criticize it with critical eyes and say, what's next? I mean, this worked back then. Now what we should be doing? How can we keep pushing the brand? I mean, the timeliness of the brand. So we're definitely exploring new things. As I mentioned before, I think the swing from real magic to be very content, user-generated look, I think we're probably going back to something that is a bit more distinctive, a bit more produced, intentional from a Coca-Cola lens on it, just not the casual bottle on the shot, but something that really brings to your point the distinctiveness of photography. So we are exploring that. There's something about lighting that we're exploring, which is pretty exciting. That's why, I mean, the show is called Contour because of the bottle, Contour, but also is the lighting that we are experimenting at the moment, which is contouring, right? So it really
Pops.
makes it pop, make it 3D, so really showcasing, bringing the product even more forward to the foreground. So yeah, it's exciting because we can continue doing that because the relationship, the creative, powerful collaboration, I think is established, right?
Yeah.
So now let's keep going.
I think that's a lovely place to end. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.